Happy podcast day, Falcon Paladin.
Hello, Somicron. Good to have you here for yet another wonderful podcast day. It is a wonderful celebration.
Is it a wonderful day though? It's been kind of rainy today.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Perhaps, perhaps wonderful day is in the eye of the beholder. I feel like.
It's a good day to sit inside and play video games. So,
Yeah. There you go.
can't complain. But I mean, I do that every day. So, low bar, low bar.
True. True.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think it's good to have a low bar, honestly, as a human being, for things like this. Because if you have a high bar for the quality of your day, then like you're probably gonna be disappointed most of the time.
True, but if you're able to meet a higher bar more regularly, you could have much better days. Like you make your midpoint higher if you consistently hitting it there.
That's a good point. But I feel like that expects that it is up to you how good your day is. Whereas I feel like, sure, part of it is, but I think another part of it is on other people around you and maybe the weather and other circumstances, like maybe your cat barfing all over your keyboard. Like, you can't do much about that, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's excellent points. Is there something you want to talk about with your two little kittens?
No, they have not barfed on any of my electronics, which
Okay.
is great.
Okay. My housemate has found two chewed USB-C cables.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's a little annoyed, but what can you do?
But what do you do? I mean, honestly, USB cables are cheap. Not a problem.
They're like $20 here. Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, considering it's $15 for a box of food at Taco Bell where you are, then $20 for a USB cable is like, yeah, all right, absolutely.
That is true. Yeah.
Reasonable stuff. Yeah. Speaking of cables, my internet speed tanked last week.
Oh, really?
It went from a gig down to like 100 megabits.
Wow.
So like
a
a
tenth.
massive drop. Still like
Usable.
I could do everything I needed to do.
Yeah.
But I was like, I am paying for a gig. So
No, rightfully
so I contacted my ISP support and they were like, everything looks good. We're talking to our stuff, we're talking to your router, everything looks fine. Maybe try another network cable. And I'm like, network cable? It can't be the network cable. There's no moving parts on network cables. And it's not like I'm actively like wiggling them all the time or bending them or wrapping them around things. They're just there, like hanging out.
Yeah.
But then I remembered the cable I'm using is literally 20 years old. I bought it in 2004 before a semester of college. And I remember specifically because I needed a longer one for the setup in my new apartment. And I've been using it ever since because it's super long and it's convenient that way. And I was like, oh, 20 years is probably enough time for a network cable to serve. And yeah, I replaced it with a different network cable and boof, internet speeds went back up to a gig. And I was like, all right.
That's great.
I know. So check your cables, everybody. Maybe a cat chewed through them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So that was my adventure this last week. It was a good one. I did some casting too of Showtime in PVTs, specifically against Gumio and Hero Marine.
Okay.
Cause like we were kind of wondering, like, how is Showtime doing so well in PVTs when like every other Protoss player can't quite pull this off right now?
To that point, just earlier this morning, Showtime 4-0'd Bunny to qualify for the Esports World Cup.
Nice. See, there we go. It's a Korean Terran. That's serious business.
Yep. So he's got some magic.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of it is it's the wall persona, right? Part of it is if you show up to attack Showtime, it's going to be hard. He's going to be in position to deal with you. He's going to have the right stuff to deal with you. He's probably going to, not going to pop a shield battery too soon. It's going to be at the right time. Things like that. So a lot of it's that. A lot of it is Terran's kind of showing up at his bases and being like, "Rawr," and then he's like, I got this. No sweat.
Okay.
And then he just likes using he likes using both Disruptors and Colossus, which isn't weird. Like, there's other Protoss doing that.
Sure.
But he does like making the Terran worry about, okay, am I trying to snipe down the Colossus here? Do I have to worry about Novas coming out of these Disruptors? And, by the mid-game, he's got 6 Novas coming at you constantly. And so the cooldown just cycles, so there's
Mhm.
always a Nova coming at you. And at least as far as Hero Marine and Gumio go, he's just very capable, very able of being like, you're going to mess up one of these times.
Mm.
If I throw 50 Novas at you, I'm going to catch something with one, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and then your Colossus are fired at you as you're retreating from the Novas, and it's just a whole mess for Terran. He really does make them look like they're not. They need some help, you know?
It's good.
Anyway, Showtime is cool. We like him.
I look forward to seeing whatever it is he's going to be doing at the EWC. Which,
So is there a Wikipedia page for how that's going?
yeah, I can send you a link.
Thanks.
Boop, and throw one into the chat. So I think it starts soon.
I don't see
Next.
any dates.
Next month. It starts soon next month. But the
Oh,
qualifier
yeah,
was
August
today.
14th. I see it. Yeah. So if we click on qualifier, that's where we're gonna see stuff. Yeah, there we go. So let's see how to do. He 2-0'd a laser. Not nothing. 3-2'd Bunny. Got beat by Shin, which is disappointing, but then came back through the lower bracket, defeating Bunny again to qualify. So yeah, he 3-2'd Bunny the first time, then he 4-0'd him the second time. He's like, I got you figured out, son. It was hard the first time, but nah, 4-0, man. Yo.
Now, I am wondering if these games were played at 3 o'clock my time, which would have made it pretty much the same in Korea. Is Bonnie just tired here?
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
What time is it in Germany at the moment? Well, not at the moment. Like 7, 8 hours ago?
Yeah.
Sure.
Maths
is hard. World clock.
Time zones are hard.
Yeah.
Aki knows.
Does Aki know?
Aki knows. Aki hates time zones with the fire of 1,000 suns.
Okay, well, it is currently 3 a.m. now, so it would have been 7 p.m. for showtime.
That's like prime time for Korean gamers. They
No,
wake up at 2... Huh?
It would have been 3 a.m. for the Koreans, and it would have been 7
Oh,
p.m.
right,
for
right,
the
right.
Germans.
We're talking about Showtime. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, prime time for gamers, man. 7 p.m.
Yep.
Could make sense. I mean, but Bunny 2-1 stats is in the first round, so like he was feeling all right, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean that's a Korean against a Korean, and it's so the time zone isn't a factor there. They're both tired.
Right. You know what's funny is
Stats.
Stats goes to the lower bracket, defeats a laser, but then gets 3-0'd by Lambo, who is German, and therefore
Stats was tired.
And Lambo was raring to go.
Yeah. Not only that, but the Stats Bunny game was played at midnight, a full 3 hours before Bunny showtime.
That's crazy.
So Bunny would have had to have been up since at least midnight. And did he get up early or did he stay up? These are important questions.
He honestly probably stayed up. Like a lot of these dudes are practicing and gaming until 2 a.m. and sleeping until noon.
I can imagine that. Yep.
Yeah. I remember those days. I used to do that.
It's about like 20 years ago.
Yeah, right? It has been a while for sure.
It's been a while for me too. Like I go to bed at 5 p.m. Like I shouldn't throw stones.
Well, baker's hours. It's not your fault.
Sure, but like on my days off, I'm going to bed at 6. Ooh.
Right. Again, you are not normal.
Kind of you to say.
Yes, it is. Notice I didn't say you were special. I just said you were normal. Is a different thing. All right. So they qualified now, and they don't actually do anything until August 14th? Boo.
Is it August 14th?
That's what it says on the right side.
Oh, yeah, August 14th.
It's $1 million prize pool. That's rad. I like that.
That is cool.
First place gets $400,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's way more than we've been getting in GSLs recently.
Yeah, that's more than you get in GSL for a year. Like,
Yeah.
that's GSL. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. Basically, just had like all their funding pulled. Like when they started their Patreon, like okay, we'll give out like the replay packs and stuff now for their
Yeah.
Patreon. Like,
Yeah. Right.
I think they lost a sponsor, or um, Blizzard was stopping sponsoring them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but yeah, their prize pool went right down.
So, why do I feel like there are a million people missing from this qualifier?
Um, who's
Like,
missing?
who else? Other people have qualified. It looks like through their participation in like. Oh wait, there was a Korea qualifier.
There's a Korea qualifier. I don't see it on the page. Oh yeah, Korean Open, Korea, Europe, Americas, Asian.
Yep. So the Korea qualifier, Rogue was there. He got beat by Shin. Gosh dang it, Shin.
Hold on, Shin qualified through the Korean Open qualifier
Yes.
and the closed qualifier.
Yes.
Are these
I don't know why he's here twice.
are these regional open qualifiers just leading? Yeah, because Showtime beat a laser to get out of that. Okay, so the regional ones just let you get into the closed qualifier. So there were a bunch of open qualifiers. That's probably why.
Right, which is why Shin, Bunny, and Stats were in the close qualifier. Right.
Yes, that's
But like, where's Dark? Dark's not like, get me in on this.
Dark.
Maru's not like I could use $400,000. You know.
Dark and Maru are already there from winning GSL. Like they get into
Okay.
the global standings. So if you go to the main page, there's still a bunch of people who have qualified from other places.
Gotcha. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Is
Cyril's there, Clem's there, not Time, Olivera, Kyo, Maru,
yeah.
Bjorn, Gumio, Coffee,
Hmm.
Australia, Max Pax was there, but he forfeited his spot.
Classic.
No, Classic. Oh, no, Classic is there, yeah.
Yeah. See, Classic, Spirit, Solar, Hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
All the
So
usual
some of
ones.
it's Masters, some of it's Katowice, some of it's EPT standing, some of it's GSL.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. Cyril has qualified 3 times by the looks of it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. While in military. Gosh dang.
Ah, incredible.
Yeah, well, I look forward to that.
Me too. In
A month.
friggin' 3 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Time is hard.
Let's not put an exact number on it, or we'll be even sadder.
Hmm. All right. Well, good. Is it Warhammer time? What else do we want to talk about here?
I don't think there's a whole lot. Yeah.
Oh, I guess I could talk about A Quiet Place Day 1 a little bit.
Sure. Go for it. Tell me your thoughts.
Did go see that on the 4th of July, you know, patriotic film about alien invasions. Independence Day is the most patriotic film of all time, and therefore Quiet Place Day 1 is Independence Day adjacent, I think is how that works.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes. Omicron's on board. All right.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so it was honestly more of a character study than like a wide like alien invasion story. It was interesting.
Okay.
So it basically tells the story of 2 characters who are in the aftermath of the alien invasion, but really only from their perspective in New York City. So you get the aliens falling from the sky, you get them, you know, murdering people. You figure out that they track by sound pretty much immediately. And then it's just basically them trying to like survive and trying to eventually the government's like flying helicopters over the city being like get to the port, get to the bay. Like we've got boats for you. They can't swim. So get there and we can help you out. So it's basically them trying to do that. But as far as there's like no wide experience, no like how the world leaders handled this thing.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, based on the rest of the films, it kind of seems like the government's just kind of like all just kind of gave up. It's weird. I don't know.
So it's kind of aliens have overwhelming force, and we're just kind of screwed here. So they give up, and that's it.
I I guess. I mean, the first movie is very much like, oh no, we can't stop these aliens. But this 10-year-old deaf girl figured out that supersonic sounds disable them, and then you can shoot them in the face and they die. And it's like, oh, we can do this. And this is like 3 years after the invasion. Like nobody was like, they're really sensitive to sound. We know that from minute 2 they landed on our planet. Let's try different sound frequencies until we find one that freaks them out, and maybe we can shoot them. Nobody did that. Nobody's running around with a truck just blaring supersonic frequencies and a machine gun just killing all these things. Like, nope, you're all on your own, humans. Figure it out.
That's not
Good
really
luck.
anyone's first step in any invasion, I think.
What?
Rolling around
Good
with a
luck?
truck. No, no, wishing someone good luck, sure, that probably is, yeah. But I think hooking up hypersonic sounds, like, how do you make that? Do we just have equipment that can do that?
Have you seen the first movie?
No.
She has a hearing aid because she's maybe not all the way deaf, like partially deaf.
Yeah, she's hearing okay.
And you know how there's feedback sometimes with like hearing aids or microphones if they're too close to each other, or it's just that.
Sure.
It's not like this is hard to create in a lab somewhere. And I'm not saying immediately. I'm just saying eventually someone figured this out and spread the news.
Okay.
Nope, no one did that.
So someone figured it out, but it's post-internet, nobody can hear it. Right? Like, how are you transmitting this? On the radio?
Yeah, there is radio in the Quiet Place movie, the first one.
Sure. Yeah, I mean...
I'm just saying, you totally could, that's all.
Yep.
Anyway, so in that way, I'd argue it's pretty smart what they did. They're like, this isn't a wide scope look at this alien invasion. We're going to focus on character.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a cat that you're going to be terrified for the entire movie because it's a cat in a post-apocalyptic alien invasion wasteland.
Right.
And yeah, so you're going to care about this stuff, and then the movie's going to be over. And it's like, well, all right, that was good. It was good. Maybe not what I fully expected, but I probably should have expected what it was. I think that's probably my bad.
Fair enough.
My kids were in on the cat, man. Every time the cat was in any kind of danger, they were like, the cat! And I was like, you guys, they are not killing the cat in a movie they made in 2024. I'm sorry. There would be riots. But I wasn't sure. And I'm not going to spoil anything. But that's what I told them midway through the film.
So... You took your kids to this?
Uh-huh. They saw the first one.
I don't know why, but I have a vague memory of like the first one being like MA15 plus kind of rating. But I guess not.
I don't know. I mean, we had this discussion. I think these films are more suspense and more, what's the word? I don't know, intense than horror films.
Sure.
What's the word for that? Thrillers. Yeah, more thrillers than horror.
Okay.
More about kind of jump scares, little bit, more about surviving. But I don't know. The line's a little bit blurred in this situation, I would argue.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how many of these movies are there now?
3?
3 of them. And they're worth watching?
The first one is definitely good. It's not like the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. But...
I feel like, yeah, it's good. It's worth a watch. It's pretty tight, too. It's maybe like 90 minutes. It's not one of these like 2-hour bloated sagas that they're putting out these days.
Sure. It's not.
It made $50 million its first weekend, which is pretty good. Second best opening weekend of the year.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Looks like day one also follows. It's only like 99 minutes runtime. There's like 10 minutes of credits there, so it sounds pretty short.
Right. That is something I appreciate about it. It's definitely definitely keeping it tight. It does star Lupita Nyong'o too, who's an Oscar winner. She's an incredible actress. She does a really good job. Joseph Quinn is in, who I think looks like young Robert Downey Jr., but he's
Oh,
British, so like could be.
he looks like an emoting Mark Zuckerberg.
He looks like Mark Zuckerberg.
On his
Ooh, I could see
Wikipedia
that.
page. On his Wikipedia page.
Okay.
I don't know which picture you're looking at, but like, this is,
IMDb, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. Anywho. Anyway. That's it.
That's it.
Then we watched Independence Day with the kids on the 4th of July, and they said it was slow and boring. And I was like, how dare you? This is an American institution. I'm disowning you all.
Slow and boring. I think that's probably pretty accurate.
Look, they're trying to make you care about the human characters. They can't just be about an alien invasion. I tried explaining that to the kids. I was like, look, the aliens can't just show up and start shooting lasers at the Earth. Because it's like, oh no, the Earth, right? But if this movie gives you the characters on the ground, then it's a better movie. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean it can't be poorly paced. I mean, here's the thing. Roland Emmerich, who's the guy who directed it, also does stuff like 2012. Like, he just loves... Yeah. He does disaster movies. And
yeah.
All of them have that bit in the beginning where you go, okay, I know the end of the world's coming. We just got to get there. And I've got to sit through 20 minutes of some guy talking to his ex-wife about not being able to sell his book, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this little girl, like, she's in a wheelchair, and you have to go through her day for a while. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. That's that. That's it for Hollywood. Independence Day, kids didn't like it. Quiet Place Day 1, they were on.
Okay, well, fair enough. Are you going to get them to watch the sequel, Independence Day Resurgence?
No, because I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? How very un-American of you.
No, because Independence Day Resurgence has not taken its place as an American freedom no, that's not the word. What did I call it earlier? An institution.
Yeah.
An institution. Nobody's like, it's the 4th of July. We should watch Independence Day Resurgence. Nobody said that.
I mean,
I've never heard anyone say that. So as soon as that becomes a common thing, then yes, I'll watch it.
It has to become a common thing. Okay, every year on the 4th of July, I will remind you that maybe you should watch Independence Day Resurgence. Do it back to back. Do a double feature for the kids.
Well, maybe they'll like Resurgence better than the original. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. It's newer.
Yeah, that is technically true. I think it's shorter, so it might be better paced. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
That'd be nice.
Have I seen that shit?
The second one?
I think I've seen a bit of it. Like a little.
Dude, but
maybe like
the first one. The first one has that moment where the president, as played by what's his face, Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman. Yeah.
He's like got everyone gathered together, and like he's a former fighter pilot, so he's gonna go fight the aliens, and he gives that speech about how like this is the world's Independence Day, and it's just like, yeah, just run through a rock wall for that guy, right? That's the best part of the movie. The rest of it, there are some slow parts for sure, but that is the best thing that they did.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, what else was I gonna say? Independence Day. That's about it. Blew up some fireworks, had some pizza.
Yeah. Chinese gunpowder and Italian cuisine. America.
Correct. Dude, you're trying to make jokes, but that's true. That's what we do. We take all the cool stuff from other places and maybe change it a little bit, and then that's ours now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying that for jokes, but like,
yeah,
tomatoes aren't native to Italy. Like, they got that from America. And now think of Italian cuisine without
Bingo.
tomatoes.
Right. What were they eating before they got tomatoes?
I
Honestly.
have absolutely no idea.
Just like Alfredo sauces and like, man, because that is crazy. I'm just thinking like going down the list of Italian foods and it's like tomatoes, 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 tomatoes. What? I'm gonna Google this. What did Italians eat before tomatoes? Oh, that's actually an autocomplete.
I mean, that was not an original thought I was having. So.
No, it's a good one. Bread, pasta, olives, and beans, and fish.
All right. That
Okay.
tracks, yeah.
Fair enough. So olives. I could have guessed olives. That's a good call. It's a very Italian thing.
Yeah.
But it is pretty nuts how they were like, oh, this thing.
This thing's great. Let's only import this until we can grow it ourselves, and then we'll base our entire food off it.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder, is there another example of that in world history where a culture that'd been around forever gets access to a new food and just completely bases their cuisine on it for the rest of time? Because
Ramen?
like England totally got a ton of spices from all the world and then didn't use it in their own food.
Yeah. There's a Reddit repost that I see on like Murdered by Words, and it's like some guy posting a picture of his dinner, and it's like England's got the best cuisine, living it up, and it's just boiled potatoes and like
Beans.
it's like mince in runny gravy. It's and like
Oh my god.
and just buttered bread. It's like someone's reply is, "This guy's living like they're still in the Blitz," which
Yeah.
you know is great. It's why it's always getting reposted. But like, I think I don't think there's going to be any like culture that's entirely reworked their entire cuisine base to organize around one import. Or you know, I assume they grow tomatoes in Italy now.
Right.
But like, ramen is quintessentially Japanese, but it's technically a Chinese meal.
Okay.
I think it's tempura. Like they got frying techniques off Portugal. In like
Okay.
the 1800s. No. Right. So
Yeah,
that's
and
something.
that's a big thing too, for sure.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. One more Japanese fun fact, which is they have, I want to say it's cows. Like there's a farm somewhere where they only feed their cows olive oil, like olives, so that sinks into the beef. Wait for when you
Whoa.
eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I mean, they do weird stuff with food over there. Is my point, but it's interesting. Yep. That's it.
Now I want to look up the list of like what different places feed their cows for different effects.
Well, I can tell you that Americans mostly feed their cows corn because you guys grow such an excess of it.
True.
And
To the point that specifically, if it's grass fed, they make a big point of it because it's different.
because
Yeah.
corn is not good for cows. All right.
Right.
Gives them like stomach ulcers. It's not great.
But also, steak.
Yeah, steak is good though.
Yeah. Delicious. Even if it's corn fed. I don't know. Have I ever had a grass fed steak before? Not that it's been advertised to me, but maybe.
You've had not grass fed, corn fed beef because you've had a Big Mac or something, right? Like that's all.
Yep.
The cheap cow.
Yep. 100%.
you know it's
I'm wondering if I've had the other one.
A grass fed?
Yeah.
Surely. Like you've been out to a nice steak place, haven't you?
Yes.
That would probably be grass fed.
Probably.
Probably. Have you ever had Wagyu? Like proper Japanese Wagyu? Alright.
Have you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's expensive, but it's so good.
It is crazy expensive. There's a good article Drew Magery put out, man, like 10 years ago now, where somebody sent him like a big chunk of Wagyu beef.
Yeah.
And like, he's like, well, I'm not gonna freeze it. I guess I just gotta eat it now. So yeah, it's like over the next 2 days, he just like puts Wagyu beef on everything that he's eating, and it's an incredible story. I should find it for you.
Go for it, yeah.
He's funny.
Please do.
Wagyu beef. I hope it's not paywalled or something.
That would suck.
Because, or gone. Oh no, here we go. It's on the takeout.
On the takeout?
Yeah.
Is that
It's
a website I've never heard of?
Yeah. It's basically a Gawker. It's part of the Gawker family, which is like Gizmodo and Kotaku and stuff.
There is a name I've not heard in a long time.
Right. And Gawker is dead, but
Right.
Takeout was their focus on food.
Okay.
It was a sub-blog based on food instead of like gaming and culture and stuff.
My mission to ruin a $250 Wagyu steak nearly destroyed my family.
There you go. So give it a read. It's great. Here, I'll
That's
put it in
incredible.
this chat too.
Go for it.
I can post links. Hooray!
Of course you can. Why wouldn't you be able to post links?
I don't know. Sometimes I can't in weird places.
Hmm.
All right. So next up, Warhammer.
Warhammer. Woo.
Warhammer.
What did we read this time?
We read something about Caliban.
Angels of Caliban
There you go. Angels of Caliban.
by Gav Thorpe.
Subtitled.
Emperors and Slaves.
Yeah. Emperors and Slaves. A provocative title for sure.
Which honestly I did not know because at no point did anyone in the audiobook say Emperors and Slaves.
Right.
Sorry.
You miss out on some stuff with the audiobooks, that's all.
Yeah, I definitely do. But you miss out on the music. So,
Oh, there's music?
yeah, at the start and the end of the book, there's like all this, the same like dramatic motifs that they play for like. It's not during like the book itself, but it's like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they were like scoring action scenes and stuff, and I was like, dang, maybe I do want to audiobook this thing.
That would be incredible.
Beginning and
but
the
no.
end, I could probably find it on YouTube or something and then just play it for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. You
Yeah.
can. Yeah. I mean, if you want, I could recommend you a actual audio drama that'll do. Probably, I think it does the music, and it's much shorter, and you can give that a go. See if you like it.
Maybe.
Maybe. All right.
Maybe. Anyway, so before we read this book, I was talking to you about this, and I was like, I don't know a lot about Lionel Johnson.
Nope.
I've read some books that he's in, but I've never gotten stuff from his perspective. And he's just kind of a mysterious dude, and nobody seems to know what's going on inside his head, and I'm curious what's going on inside his head.
Right, and turns out the dude loves secrets, so that's intentional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So it totally makes sense nobody knows what's going on inside his head. But then we do get inside his head, and it's kind of like, you know what? Lionel Johnson's pretty much an asshole. That's good to know. I think I've got this figured out at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
He's just so there's this spectrum of Primarchs, right? It's like the super depraved ones, like freaking Night Haunter himself. And like the ones that are really trying their best all the time, which is like Gilliman. Then you have like everything in between, right?
Sure.
And yeah, so Lionel's not like depraved, and he's never gonna like turn himself over to chaos.
Probably
I
not.
think.
Nope.
But at the same time, he doesn't really care about people. Like, that's a problem I'm finding with this guy.
Yeah.
Like, at no point do I feel like he cares about his men or his people or Caliban. Like, this book is mostly just focused on capturing Kurz. And, like, to an extent, I get it, right? The Night Haunter's been causing all sorts of problems. This whole Imperium Secundus thing can't happen if Conrad Kurz is running around causing problems.
It's pretty bad.
Right?
Yep.
So I get that he's really singularly focused on capturing him. But at the same time, he just shows no concern for collateral damage at all.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between making decisions that hurt innocent people in pursuit of a goal and like fretting about it, and making decisions that hurt innocent people in pursuit of a goal and not ever caring about it. Right?
Sure. I think the scale for the Primarchs is Liberators and Conquerors, and Lion is absolutely on the Conqueror side, but he acts very much like he's in the middle, right? Like
Yes.
he doesn't care about raising the cities or the planets after he's conquered them. That's someone else's job. He just wants to like flex his martial muscles and then move on, basically, right?
Yes. Totally accurate.
Um,
Yeah, like he doesn't want to build an empire. He
no.
doesn't want to build an Ultramar like Gilliman does. Right.
Yeah.
So he's goal focused. I think maybe that's a fair way to.
That's a good way to put it. He's very goal orientated, and
Yeah.
growing up on Caliban, he learned that like the people will take care of themselves because like he was like the head of the order, right?
Yeah.
And the order wasn't an official government. They were just like dudes hanging out, killing beasts when they needed to be killed, with a bunch of serfs looking after them so that they could do that more efficiently, right?
Right.
And
Right.
So he's like his entire worldview is just like the people take care of themselves. We gotta do the war things, so let's go do the war things, and sometimes beasts eat people. That's what happens.
Right.
And in this case, beast means orbital strikes and drop pods. You know.
Yes. Yes, it does. So yeah, that's a very specific moment where he's like, I want to capture Conrad Kurz. I need to flush him out.
And we know he's in
And
this part of the city. He's hiding somewhere
yeah.
in this. It's like a city state. Like McCrag is still being described as like ancient Hellenistic area, which became Greece. But like they were the Hellenistic states at the time. Like here's Athens and here's Sparta and all the other ones, whose names I
Right.
definitely can't remember. But it's like here's. I don't even remember what they call it in this book. They don't say it enough.
Like Elithum or whatever. Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
So yeah, so like historically this Illithan
Illyrian.
city-state has been rebellious and like fighting against control. And they're the ones that killed Gilliman's adopted father. But Gilliman is very loath to be like, let's just wipe it out. He's
Right.
very much like, the people are speaking and I respect that. So he's like, no, you can't just nuke this thing from orbit. Like, not allowed. Like, him and Sanguinius both agree, no attacks from orbit, no orbital strikes, no missile attacks. You have to do this on the ground.
Right.
And so, Lion's like, And one of his subordinates is like, I have a sneaky idea. Like, what if we use drop pods, which are not orbital bombardment technically, and put bombs in them? And then we're not orbital bombarding, we're drop podding, and they just explode. And Lionel Johnson, who is more concerned about having some plausible deniability here than anything else, right? Yeah, he's like, great idea. You've solved my problem. Thanks, guy.
The wild thing about this is like, the lion is very also just like, he's still keeping secrets. The last book he was in with, it was like, hey brother, we need to like talk about things and not have secrets from each other. And the lion's like, yes, I can see the point, but don't ever look inside my ship because I have this thing called the T'Cholka device, and you could just get T'Cholka to like teleport bombs into the city. You don't.
Oh yeah.
He could have. I mean, he maybe didn't want to draw attention to the fact that he could do that, but like he does by the end of the book anyway.
He sure does.
Yeah, but it's I don't get it. A lot of the Primarchs and the Emperor do things in a rush because they're on a time frame, right? They're like, okay, the Emperor's like, okay, the warp storms are clearing, we have to go out and conquer the galaxy before someone else does. So he's like, okay, my Primarchs are missing, not to worry, we're just going to keep going anyway. And he's just like, faster. The Lion's got nowhere to go at the minute. Like, he's like,
right.
He's got nothing else to do. His only like goal was hunting Conrad, and when he was like off doing that, he was pretending to be doing something else. And he's not doing that now, so it's like, where are you rushing? Like, what part of orbital bombardment is necessary to this plan. The Illyrians don't have soldiers that can compete with Astartes deployments anyway.
Right. Except that there is some warp stuff going on. Like, that's the thing about it that I thought was interesting. Because they kind of portray it as Ilium is just generic, rebellious Terrans, right?
Sure.
Just humans. And they don't like control, and they try to throw it off, blah, blah, blah. But then you get in there, and they're, like, worshipping warp creatures and stuff. Like, there's warp stuff going on. There's actual heresy happening here.
True.
That's all. And I'm just saying, if Gilliman knew that, he might have a different attitude toward the whole thing.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, most certainly, yeah.
Yeah. That's all. I just thought it was interesting to add that in there. They didn't have to do that.
No, yeah, because he does go to that cave, and the cave is, like, covered in chaos glyphs or something.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. A single photo would be like, hey, sure, we can't nuke this place from orbit now.
Yeah, totally. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, text message this back to Gilliman. Be like, look what I found. And Gilliman's like, what? On my planet? Right?
I think Gulliver would still be like, no, we can treat this like a cancer. There are treatments that we can apply. We don't cut off the head to save the arm. Like, he goes...
Is that what he does when he's going across on the Crusade and he finds chaos worship on a planet? He's like, we're gonna...
In the Great Crusade, he didn't.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't... I don't think you found chaos worshippers.
Ever?
Probably not, because, like, that's the whole secret. Chaos... nobody in the Great Crusade really knew that chaos wasn't, like, a faction unto itself, right?
I have read plenty of things in the Horus Heresy that there's chaos crap going on planets before the actual Horus Heresy happens.
Right, but they don't recognize it as chaos. They recognize it as all these people are just fucked up. There are some people who recognize it for what it is, as warp shenanigans at best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But nobody really, like, the word chaos, Garviel Loken, he's like, oh, I hear that word, it rings a bell in my head, like it shouldn't, and it's malign onto itself. Like, the idea that chaos is a unified or force or a faction is new in the Great Crusade.
Or something that should be immediately excised. It's not really that yet. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's fair.
So it's possible he doesn't. He's like, okay, we could just go in there and maybe... Like, I think after seeing Lorgar and his band of freaks, he's probably much more likely for, like, a slash and burn approach at this point. But I still don't think he's, like, immediate orbital strike, because a lot of his concerns throughout the book, which is predominantly him bickering with the lion back and forth in front of Sanguinius,
right,
is that, like, oh, hey, look, here's, like, the Illyrians, they're rebelling, but it's like a mother doing a suicide bombing. We can't go in there and just kill the kids, you know?
Yes. Yeah, he does. He does totally see them as his children, these wayward children who don't quite agree with him, but they're still his kids. But yeah. But as soon as it's like, they're harboring chaos. You remember chaos, right? Like, yes, things go much worse for these people.
Right.
Yeah. So that's all. That was... Yeah, I don't know why Lionel wouldn't do that. Would be a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, so basically a lot of this book is just Sanguinius, Lionel, and Guilliman trying to set up this, like, triumvirate, trying to have this balance of power. They talk about how, it's good there are three of us, because if there were just two, we'd be pulling against each other for power.
Yeah.
And one pretty much turns into a God Emperor thing immediately, and that's not great.
Especially when the one you pick has wings.
Right. But three, we can all have our separate areas of responsibility, and that makes it a more equitable arrangement for everyone. But yeah, they're definitely pushing back against each other because they're Primarchs. Like, they're not used to working with other people.
Right.
That's not what they do. They barely work together when they're, like, put together on missions by their dad,
There are a lot of them that do work well together, or at least did. Like, the Emperor's children used to always deploy with the Lunar Wolves. They got together fabulously. Look how that turned out. You know?
Bad. Yeah.
So
Anywho, but yeah, it's just interesting that that's the whole conversation there.
there is an interesting point there, which is I think at one point one of the Lion's like sergeants or whatever, the one who's got sneaky plans for drop pods, points out that he's got that like Robute Guilliman and his Legion have some machine that they can borrow, like some land raiders or whatever. I can't remember what it is. Maybe it's a tunneler or something. And so the Lion is the Lord Protector, but it's never explicitly stated. Did Sanguinius and Reboot turn over their legions to his command?
Right?
Because I feel like there's a lot of talk of like, oh, the I don't want to risk my Dark Angels going into Illyrium. It's like, deploy all three. You have the combined forces of 3 legions there, even if they're not full legions. Like,
it's a lot.
60,000 Space Marines can take a system. You just need to take one city-state. Like, you can manage it. I don't understand.
Right. Yeah, me neither. I mean, a lot of it is it's mountainous and the terrain is tough and they're hiding in caves and that's tricky and I get that. But yeah, no, I get your point too. That is a lot. That is a ton of Space Marine.
Yeah.
So basically we have that's the problem. It's the general conflict between Lionel Johnson, who is the goal-oriented Primarch, and Guilliman, who is the planning, overseeing, managing Primarch, and their worldviews do not mix.
There is a great conversation that Guilliman has with his mum, and he says, I love this. If you gave me 6 hours to build a watchtower, I'd spend the first 4 measuring bricks.
Right. Right. Yeah, and that's exactly correct. So yeah, I like it. It's Primarchs butting heads with each other, but you're not like, man, this one's totally wrong or this one's totally right. You're kind of like, oh, they're both coming from here. Guilliman could stand to let the reins loose a little bit, and Lionel could stand to like sit down and plan something for once.
Right.
You know.
Right. And all of this is being, in the book at least, is being compared with what's going on back at Caliban itself, where Luther's like, we need to be better than the Lion, and the book's kind of implying that it should be compared in our minds, and thus also the other Calibanite Space Marines that he's trying to turn, at like specifically at like the banquet that they have, the feast.
The feast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Because Nemiel's death and Tahariel finding that out is the Lion being very goal-focused, not caring about people, and now we've got that same situation where he's defending his actions with orbital bombardment, being like, military command has, certain needs must, basically, and it's very much, he's still struggling with the fact that he does not have supreme authority here now,
right,
in a war zone, despite being the Lord Protector. And like that was the same issue he had with the Emperor's rule of Nicaea. So it's just interesting that the book wants you to put those two things in your mind and being like, look, he's not changing. He's a dick. He's always been a dick. And here's what that does to people on Macragge and on Caliban.
It totally does, but I had this thought today, and I was like, you know what? Lionel getting betrayed by Luther kind of helps explain a little of what's going on with him, right? Because it's weird. This book doesn't mention it. It's like, Lionel abandoned us here on Caliban. He didn't tell us why. And it's like, I know why. I know what happened. I was there.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Luther tried to get Lionel killed for 20 seconds. And Lionel knows about it.
Right.
And he doesn't want to have a whole big show trial about it and get Luther, executed or exiled or something, because he knows how important Luther is to his people.
Right.
Or he loves Luther, and this is the best thing he could come up with, is exile on Caliban.
The Lion, he has like an internal monologue moment, like where he's like, I should have gone back. I should have made time to go back to Caliban to make sure Luther knew that while he was sidelining him from the Great Crusade, he was still putting the future of the Legion entirely in his hands. Like, that's a direct quote from the line in the book. And
Right.
so much could have been, stopped if the lion had given the dude a hug and a conversation at some point.
Yeah, but can you forgive it?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think you can. Because, like, Luther loves Caliban, and his punishment is to spend the rest of his days on Caliban. I feel like that's
Yeah.
fair. I feel like Luther can get behind that. He just needs to feel like it's not him being an outcast, that he's not here as the dregs of the Lion's history, but as, like, an important part of the Legion and of the Lion's future as well.
So you think Lionel should have been like, I know you had a moment of weakness and sided with some people who tried to have me killed.
No, not immediately. You don't immediately approach the subject like that, right? You
Okay.
do it 20 years later when you you don't cancel your first planned visit or your second. You do it at either of those, all right? Maybe even earlier than 20 years. But, like,
Right. So how long do you have him exiled before you have that conversation?
5 years? 10?
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Back-
5 years seems like ample in my opinion. Even
For
one.
really?
Dump him back to Caliban, give him a year to think about what he's done, and then come back and be like, hey, I know what you did. You'll notice you're still alive, but that's why you're here. I love you. Rule Caliban for me. I'll come back later and see how you're doing.
How much does the lion really know about what happened, though? Like, he wasn't in the room. He couldn't know. Is he maybe punishing the Luther for failing to spot the smuggled nuclear warhead beforehand? Is that what the punishment really is in practical terms? It's like, on paper, I can only punish you for, like, this slight misstep in security protocols.
Yeah, but a slight misstep in security protocols doesn't lead to you banishing Luther to Caliban for all time and eternity.
Right, but it wasn't on paper banishment. It was reposting. It was
But by function, it certainly was.
sure, just because he
Yeah.
never came back, right? But he might have come back.
Right.
If he had come back at any point, which is the point we're making, to go and have that conversation, it wouldn't be a banishment.
Unless it was a comeback. I can't trust you for whatever reason. You are never leaving Caliban.
I think that would just make everything worse. Like, that doesn't help.
Okay. I don't know.
I think the lion should have gone back and had a conversation with the bloke at some point. That's it.
Sure. But my annoying thing with Luther is that he knows what happened. Maybe Lionel Johnson doesn't know.
No.
But Luther knows what happened. And Zahariel knows what happened.
Yeah.
So for Luther to be like, we were abandoned. Meh, 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 what happened? It's like, you know what happened.
That's true. That is true.
So yeah, I didn't find myself liking Luther very much in this book.
No, Luther's a little hard to like, and also I'm pretty sure in the last book, he was in the North Arcologies when all of that stuff was going down. He had spent like weeks locked in his like secret library, painting chaos runes all over him, and that's the last physical descriptions we got of him. And
Yeah.
and so my entire
I
time
forgot about that.
when I'm listening to the book, I'm like, he's painted in warp sigils from head to toe, and they're glowing. How is nobody alarmed by this?
Right.
I assume they wash off, but it's not
Or
stated.
like they're invisible to people
Yeah,
for them, right?
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an invisible door that only Zahariel can look in to at
Yeah.
one point. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of Zahariel, because like they're not chaos servants by any stretch at this point, right? The people on Caliban.
Not the people, but Zahariel and his wizard cabal,
Yeah.
like his coven of witches, they like Zahariel is absolutely like noticing that, like, oh, his eyes used to glow like a frosty blue, and now they've got like a dull greeny glow. It's like, okay, yes, he's drawing power from the Ouroboros of Caliban or whatever.
Which, to back up a little bit,
Do you remember?
right, in the previous books, they're like, there's this warp beast coiled around the core of Caliban, and it's the reason there's all these beasts on the surface and all the darkness, and that's why it's corrupted. We need to kill it. We got to kill this Ouroboros, and then we can save Caliban. And then Zahariel is like, reaches the conclusion that the Ouroboros is Caliban.
Well, so here's the thing. Luther is also there being like, look, I have this spell from the book. We can bind it. We can chain it to our
right.
will.
They wanted to bind it, and that did not work.
That did not work. And like, Zahariel was like, no. Okay, I don't remember. The last book, Zahariel wakes up in a hospital 6 months later, and it's been like, the Council of Nike has gone by, and Zahariel's just like, getting interrogated by Lutherans. Like, you don't remember? You didn't learn its name?
Yeah.
And now
then Zahariel lies and says, nope.
No, but in this book, it's like, oh, he was trapped under some rubble deep in the underground.
That's later, though, right? Because he eventually goes on this mission with the Lord Cypher, who, again, we never know who the Lord Cypher is in these books.
Yes, and to point on that, they go, oh, a secret well kept. Like,
yeah.
They eventually demask him, and Zahariel goes, oh, I recognize you. Doesn't tell us.
Which implies it's somebody we know and care about, but who?
Who?
I don't know who's on that list.
Don't know. Absolutely don't know. But
it'd be interesting if it was like Nemiel, but Nemiel is super dead.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, did we skip an important short story where that happened? I don't remember.
You know, now that you're mentioning it, it sounds like there kind of should be, because he, like, as far as I can tell, him and the Lord Cypher and some retinue go on some mission into Caliban and end up like maybe trying to discover what the Ouroboros is, and something happens and Zahariel falls down this pit, and then the Lord Cypher leaves him to die. He's like, oh, enough of that guy, peace.
Right.
And backs out. And yeah, Zahariel doesn't give a ton of details on it, and it almost like is referring to it as though we do know what happened.
Right.
So that's a good point. But at the same time, I don't know that we need it. All we need to know is Lord Cypher left Zahariel to die. Zahariel became converted to the gospel of the Ouroboros, and now thinks that the Ouroboros is the soul of Caliban.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. Like, I don't think we need more details than that. I'm not even sure what you'd put in that book. You could.
You could. There's definitely something there.
Yeah.
I wish this freaking flowchart worked better. I keep trying to move, like, I'm sliding it across, and it's just like, yeah, we're not going to load anything past this line, and then we're going to shift you right back. I'm like, fuck off.
Right. Like, come on.
Anyway. Because, fortunately, like, the actual flowchart, not the PNG that we're using, has, like, you can just click on the books and open up the Lexicanum page and be like, here's the book, here's what it was about, probably, you know? I mean, I found that the wonderful people who write Lexicanum pages do a varying degree for every book. So some stuff has, like, well, maybe here's the people that were in it, and this book, Angels of Caliban, has the entire book summarized chapter by chapter. It has...
Wow.
Like, here, I'll send you the link. Just have a look at how much they do to summarize that book. Summarize.
Dude, this is like 1,000 words.
Yeah, easily. It's 1,000 words for every chapter. Well,
yeah.
Not chapter, like act.
Yeah. Better, but still.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Anyway. So Luther at no point takes responsibility for trying to murder his boss, which is annoying.
And
he wants Caliban to be independent. He's like, look, there's the Imperium, there's the forces of chaos. We don't want anything to do with any of those guys. We're just going to be alone in our corner of the galaxy. They're going to be too busy to worry about us. We'll be fine. Although they do acknowledge at some point someone's going to come for us. We
Right.
got to be ready for that. But for the most part, they'll leave us alone.
And you know, props to the guy. He's bold. Caliban can't produce any spaceships, and he's like, I want to rebel.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
And like, fortunately, Corswain, who is in charge of fighting against Typhon of the Death Guard, is like, you know what? The Lion's not here. I'm gonna go send some guys to go and get everyone that we've had sitting around on Caliban. I need those guys. That's 30,000 troops.
It's a lot of guys.
That is a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, free ships.
And it works out. Hooray, we got ships. Yeah, so that's lucky.
That's lucky.
Right. So then on Caliban, you have this thing where like Luther just wants control of Caliban. And Zahariel wants to convert everybody to the gospel of Ouroboros. And then there's this representative Lionel Johnson who's like, get in line with the Primarch, please.
Balath, I think.
Yeah. And then Lord Cypher, who...
We're not sure what he wants, but he's working with the Watchers in the Dark.
Yeah.
And then you've got Astalan, who's like... also has his plan, but it's mostly fuck the Lion. Like, he doesn't really care about anything else. He just wants to say fuck the Lion. And he's got some Emperor-given mind block going on.
Yeah, Emperor given. Like, from the olden days.
Yeah.
Yeah, because because the representative shows up from Lionel Johnson, and he brings a psyker with him. And Zahariel's like, oh no, I can protect my own mind, but what about Astalan? Can he do it? And he checks, and he's like, whoa, what is that? And then later he's like, so you hung out with the Emperor sometimes, right? And he's like, yeah. Did he ever do anything to your mind? And he's like, dude, we were fighting all sorts of crazy stuff. You think he'd send us out there with armor to protect our bodies, but nothing to protect our mind? And he's like, oh, good point. Fair enough.
It's a good point. And then it was like, oh, but it became too taxing for him to do it to every Space Marine, so he just stopped.
But, like, apparently he could give permanent mind protection. Because I doubt he's maintaining it at this point, right?
No.
Like, he has bigger fish to fry. The Emperor is not maintaining the mind protection of a random Space Marine on Caliban right now.
Yeah.
So it is perpetuating. I don't know. Feels like a retcon.
Maybe. It might be. I wonder if that guy turns up in any other books. Which, looking at his page, yes, he does. One or two. Anyway. Yeah, so, like, while Gulliman and the Line are having their back and forth, we're getting back and forth between Luther, Lord Cypher, Zahariel, and Aslan about, you know, whether or not they're allies of convenience or if they're even going to be allies in the future. And, you know, there's basically a lot of intrigue going on between them as they all try to, like, figure out who's top dog. And then Balath turns up and is like, I want your troops. You'll give them to me. And that really kicks things off. Mostly with Aslan being like, hey, you didn't give the order, but I'm going to go ahead and seize these ships while you're at the feast. It's like, I'm just gonna start
he's
doing
like,
it.
Right, he says, because Luther doesn't have the dark side of him to directly disobey Luther, right? But he wants to. And therefore, he needs somebody in his party who can do that for him. And that's what Astalan is. He makes that point.
Right.
Because he takes the ships, and Luther's like, all right, you took those ships. What are you doing? And he's like, you need me. Like, I'm going to do the stuff that you want to do, but you can't do because you're too good of a person. Yeah. And Luther's like, fine.
Right.
He's like, you right.
And Zahariel's just like taking his own initiative, being like, I'm going to lightning bolt Balath in the chest at the middle of dinner. Like,
Yeah.
why
And
not?
then claim he was trying to kill Luther. It's like, oh, all right, Zahario, cool. Nice move, bro.
I guess that works.
Yeah.
And then he chases Cypher
Lord
down,
Cypher. Yep.
unmasks him, figures out that like his powers that are granted from like the Watchers in the Dark are mostly like if you believe that they can hurt you, they'll hurt you.
Yep.
Yep. And then the Watchers leave because they like realize, oh shit, we should have killed this guy as a kid.
He was dangerous.
They
We
literally,
let him go.
yeah, yeah. So Cypher dies. Zahario gives his like cronies the body, be like, make sure no one ever finds him, and then
Yeah.
the book basically ends with Zahario being crowned the new Lord Cypher. Like he's got the mask now.
At least we know who he is. That's nice.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I like, too, that Zahario has totally turned on the Watchers. Because at first he was like, they're protectors of Caliban, probably. Like, they have what's in interest. Like, we share interests here. But now he sees them as jailers of the Ouroboros. And, like, they probably are. They're probably like, this massive planet-sized warp beast is bad news bears.
Right.
But Zahario's like, no, it's my friend. Leave him alone.
Yep.
And the Watchers are like, oh, gosh, this kid. All right, well, you win this round, Zahario. Coming for you later, though. I'm guessing. Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yep. Yep. A lot of stuff.
Yeah. And then we get the wonderful trial of Conrad Kurz.
Oh yes.
Oh, man, it's glorious. It's really good, too, because it's this whole argument of, like, Kurz is extremely good at sowing dissent among anybody, really, who can hear him. Do we want to give this guy a platform? And Gilliman's like, we have to let him speak for himself. That's justice.
That's due process.
And then they give him a platform, and he immediately ruins everything. It's amazing.
He manages to be lucid enough to string 2 sentences together, and that gets Gilliman to defend his brother and be like, no, the Lion didn't use orbital strikes. They were forbidden by the Emperor Sanguine. And then
He agreed.
Yeah, and then the Lion's
Yeah.
like, oh shit. And then one more sentence, and he's done it. Like, that was it. Like, Conrad manages to entirely unveil the dickhead that is the Lion, you know?
And break the triumvirate. Completely. Gilliman breaks Lionel Johnson's sword. They're not friends anymore. It completely destroys it. We talked about this earlier in the pod. If there's only 2 Primarchs, it's not going to go as well if there are 3. Yeah. It's incredible. And he's just like so happy about this. He's like, this is the greatest day of my life.
He sure is, yeah.
And it, like, that's the question. It's a big question in the concept of law. Do you allow the accused to defend themselves publicly, even if the things they say will cause more damage to society, right? And the book is kind of like, sometimes you probably shouldn't, but, like, that's tough. That is really tough to determine. Like, who wants to make that call, you know?
Right, yeah.
Oh.
And it is, I don't know, tricky because
Yeah.
he, like, Conrad here only has any ability to say anything because the Lion just couldn't keep it in his dropship, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You
and
didn't have to do that stuff.
He didn't have to.
As established.
Yep. And so, is it easier to just say, well, yeah, obviously we should be able to give him the platform, because if everyone just did the right thing when they were supposed to, he wouldn't have been able to do anything. Like, there's nothing he could say that would have damaged anything. But it's like, well, people aren't going to do that, though. Like, you can't just trust everyone to do the right thing.
Yep. And therefore, Conrad Kurz will always have an in.
Yep.
He'll always have a way to get in there and mess with it. Yeah. So then Gilliman's like, well, I guess it's time to execute Conrad Kurz now. We gave him a trial. We let him speak for himself. He didn't really defend himself at all.
Nope.
He was more interested in messing with us.
Well,
But now we can kill him.
that's the thing, right? Like he's seen visions of the future. He knows he doesn't die here, so he doesn't need to defend himself and be like, "I plead guilty. Can I have prison, please?" Like he doesn't need that.
Right. But like Gilliman's like, all right, it's time. Give me a sword. And Conrad Kurz is like, hold on. Like he's worried. He does not have 100% confidence in those visions.
Right.
He's pretty sure of them, but there is not unshakable faith.
Right. Right.
And then Lionel Johnson is like turning over some stuff that Conrad has said over and over in his head and goes, he keeps using this phrasing of, I'm going to die at the hand of an assassin sent by the Emperor.
Right.
And for some reason, he decides this means the Emperor's alive.
Well, it makes sense because there's only two emperors. One is Sanguinius, and Sanguinius isn't sending an assassin, and so it's a leap. It's a leap of faith to assume that this order of assassination is future tense, and not
Because the Emperor could have sent an assassin 50 years ago. Been like, this Conrad Kurz is a bad seed, right?
okay. So I mean,
Could have. That's all I'm saying.
could have, but like the warp storms around the rift, around Terra, that they think Terra is destroyed. So
Yeah, but
the Emperor can't send a message now. He couldn't.
I know. But
So-
how long ago was that now?
Right, but like if he'd already sent the message, why hasn't the assassins done anything? The message
Because
has
Conrad Kurz is a slippery son of a bitch.
no, because there haven't been any assassins. The order has not been given yet. That's
So you're saying if the order had been given, it would have been carried out by now?
yes.
And I don't think so. You know, it took, like, how many times have Primarchs been trying to take down Conrad Kurz and failed miserably? Like, who is this assassin he's sending? Unless it's another Primarch, you know?
It is. Do you want to know the name of the assassin? I have that knowledge. I have that lore.
All I want to know, is it a Primarch?
No.
Okay, then. Good luck. That's all I'm saying. Because, like, one-on-one, Kurz is a tough fight for Lion. Like, it is not an easy fight.
Yeah. I mean, look, I can tell you about this if you want the lore.
Is it a perpetual? Is it like John Grammaticus or something stupid?
Nope.
Not a perpetual.
Nope.
Okay.
It is just a person.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yep.
I mean, perpetuals are kind of just people too, to be honest.
Sure.
Anyway.
In a way, but no. This
Yeah.
well, also it's a member of the Officio Assassinale or whatever, where it's like
Right.
these people aren't
Right.
just people. Like I think this one
Yeah.
was.
Remember
one
how there's a whole book of that office? I'm
Yeah.
going to call them an office.
That office.
Trying and failing miserably to kill Horus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well. Yeah.
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 All right. Whatever. We'll get there. But yeah, so Lionel Johnson teleports back to where they're gonna behead Conrad, and he's like, "Brothers, no, you can't do it. The Emperor lives." End of book.
End of book. And they.
It's like,
Did you not like that?
it's a theory. Like, sure.
It's a good theory, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't know that right now you can operate under the pretense that the Emperor lives based on the ravings of the Night Haunter.
Well,
You know?
it's the visions of the Night Haunter, but also it's corroborated by the visions of Sanguinius.
Sanguinius, yeah.
I mean, it's total false equivalency that like if the Night Haunter's visions are true, so must Sanguinius's, because they're not the same people, right?
Right.
But you know they are, so it's definitely an argument that makes more sense because we know he's right.
Right. We know because we've seen 40K stuff. But yeah, nobody knows. I would prefer if they kind of approached it out of a, hey, there's some visionary evidence that the Emperor is alive. Let's explore this further instead of operating upon the assumption that he is. That's all I'm saying. That's all I want.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay.
All right, what are we reading next?
Great question.
Part of me is like, okay, well, we need to go and read this book, but I'm looking at how far back it is on the on the flowchart, and I'm like, do we really want to be going that far back to read a book? And it's like,
Honestly, I don't want to go far back. No, I don't.
I mean, but we
If we go so far back that someone's like, "What? Chaos is real," I'm not reading it.
yes, hard stop there.
Mm-hmm. Tired of it.
Okay, I'm looking at the description of this book because I've not read it, but it does not. How far back it is on the spreadsheet, not the spreadsheet, the flowchart, is deceptive. It is Praetorian of Dawn, which makes it like it's the big yellow one if you're looking at it. That is, it's like right next to the top line. Basically, it's like one string. Deliverance Lost files right into it. It's sandwiched in between the brown of the word bearers and the green of Caliban, right? Like it's
Okay.
up there, but
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
at the
yeah.
description, it sounds like it could be much later on.
Okay.
What I will say is Dawn, like we know Dawn's been just on Terra, fortifying the place. Poor old Roger Dawn.
Right. We do.
Not a whole lot of like warp stuff for him to be like, wow, the warp is a real thing on Terra. There was like the City of Sight and the Astronomicon going out. Well, not going out. It doesn't go out. It's like Magnus's breaking of like Magnus's folly and all that.
When's the battle for the Webway?
After this,
Ah, okay. Got it.
the battle for the Webway, I think, is like 7 years or something. We get at the start of that book. It's like 6 or 7 years into the Horus Heresy.
All right.
We skipped ahead for that because I was like, I've read this one. I think it's good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think we can do that one if you want. The Praetorian of Dawn.
Sure. Praetorian of Dawn. Or when you say it, it sounds like dawn.
Dawn. Dawn.
Yep.
Praetorian of Dawn.
Again, searching for things like the Praetorian is like, here's some Roman history books. For obvious reasons.
Well, I get Praet, and it's like, hey, did you want Praetorian of Dawn? It just knows me.
Yeah, we're at a point where the library is like, I know about this book, but we certainly don't have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might be one you have to
They were
pick up.
released in 2016. Like, when are you getting these stupid books? Whatever. Amazon it is.
To the Amazon.
Yeah, see, Amazon knows what I'm talking about. Like, you've searched for Warhammer books every week for the last 4 months.
And for the rest of your life.
And again, I have to refresh the page before it gives me the option of, like, would you like to use your Amazon points to buy this?
Oh, really?
It's weird. Yeah, I don't know why it does that.
I don't even have Amazon points.
I know. They're great. Free book.
Free book.
I like this. Read it because, at last, Rogel Dorn and the 7th Legion take center stage in a Horus Heresy novel, and it's a doozy. All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
It's a
Whoever
doozy.
wrote that.
It's got your favorite legion in it. Praetorian of Dawn, Alpha to Omega.
No, my favorite Legion of the Night Lords. Remember?
Oh, I thought it was the Alpha Legion. My apologies. Or is it the Alpha Legion when they're pretending to be the Night Lords?
I don't know. I don't know that I have the strongest feelings about Alpha Legion. It's kind of hard to have strong feelings about Alpha Legion.
Alrighty.
Good. That one to read. Oh yeah. Also, we've been watching another.
Oh, yes. Have you watched any more of that from the last time we spoke on it?
No,
Okay.
but I will before we talk about it next week.
Okay. So, if anyone wants to join in an anime we're watching an old classic that I saw when I was like 14 called Another. It's available on Crunchyroll in the US, or not at all here in Australia, so I'm using a VPN. But,
Really?
yeah.
Licensing is so weird. Anyway, all right. So yeah, so we're watching it. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Yep. Uh, Supernatural mystery. Is that the best way to describe it without spoilers?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to have a story set in a world where smartphones don't exist.
Right. It's set in like 1999.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, you can watch that and we can chat about it next week.
Next week.
And is next week when we move it up a day?
I think it is. Let me look at the calendar.
It is, yes.
Yeah. So next
So
week
we're just
we'll
going to
be
move the pod up 24 hours.
24 hours early. So that's Monday at 11 a.m. Australian time.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern in the U.S. on Sunday.
Cool.
So mark your calendars for that. All right. So, how do I only have a 3 watch streak on stream? Oh, I guess I'm not watching your
Oh yeah, you
Warcraft
don't.
2 streams.
Yes, no, you don't. You don't watch my StarCraft 2 streams, unlike how I watch yours. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So that is going to be it from us today. This has been Falcon Paladin and Somicron coming at you with another edition of the Falcon Paladin Hour. You can check us out at twitch.tv/Somicron, and the VODs go to youtube.com/@Somicron. You can support the podcast by going to falconpaladin.store and buying merch, or patreon.com/Somicron and pledging.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you want to do that, great. Appreciate it. And until next time, next week, 6 days from now instead of 7, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for hanging out.